Hello Hunters! In this guide I will be answering some common beginner questions such as what master rank should I be? What build should I use for me and my Palico? And what items should I bring to the fight? I will also give a brief overview of the 3 phases of the hunt, point out any tips and tricks you should look out for, and finally go over some do's and don'ts to try and make the hunt easier for you. So what master rank should you be when you first fight Fatalis? While you can attempt him as soon as you unlock the quest at master rank 24, you really shouldn't do that and instead raise your master rank because there are some milestones that will unlock features to help make the fight a lot easier. At master rank 70, you'll unlock Silver Rathalos and Golden Rathian. Silver Rathalos armor is very important for elemental-based weapons such as bow and dual blades, and Gold Rathian armor unlocks Divine Blessing secret. Next, at master rank 100, you'll be able to level your Guiding Lands regions to the max level of 7. This will allow you to gather materials to augment rarity 12 weapons and armor. Augmentations are incredibly powerful, so I highly recommend you take the time to upgrade your gear with them. Finally, at master rank 150, you can take on the quest to upgrade your Tempora mantle. You can put decorations on upgraded mantles to free up space on your armor, which is a nice little perk. Okay, so you're master rank 100 and you have all the materials to augment your weapons and armor, but which ones should you even use? I'll put up some recommended builds on screen while I give a rundown of skills you should look out for. For offensive skills, Weakness Exploit, Critical Boost, and Agitator are your top priorities to max out. After that, slot in as much Critical Eye as you can to get as close to 100% affinity as possible. Also, don't forget any weapon-specific skills you might need. As for Attack Boost, it's your lowest priority offensive skill, as the small, flat bonuses it gives just isn't really worth it in Iceborne when we're dealing with very high base values already. For defensive skills, Health Boost 3 is mandatory, and if you're struggling, Divine Blessing 5, unlocked from the Gold Rathian set bonus, can be decent. However, keep in mind its activation is random. If you're looking for a more consistent defensive skill, try Evade Window. Don't bother with Defense Boost, since the damage mitigation, even when it's maxed out, is close to nothing. For utility skills, if your weapon is a light weapon, that is, it takes 2 clutch attacks to tenderize a monster, Clutch Claw Boost from the Shaver Jewel is mandatory. If you're hunting in multiplayer, Flinch Free from the Brace Jewel is also mandatory. If you have space in your build, Part Breaker can help you get the double head break. Finally, Heavy Artillery, not to be confused with just artillery, is highly recommended. You may have noticed that many of the recommended builds use Health Augment. Health Augment is great because it heals you for a percentage of the damage you deal. This synergizes very well with all the offensive skills that we take. As they say, the best defense is a good offense, and that's especially true against Fatalis. For specialized tools, Temporal, Evasion, and Rocksteady mantles are pretty much the only ones that you want to consider. All of the other tools are either too niche in their use, or just straight up useless in the Fatalis fight. So, what about weapon and armor for your Palico? First, you should decide whether or not you want to even bring your Palico to the fight in the first place. Your Palico can take aggro off of you, yes, but that's a double-edged sword. Fatalis aggroing onto your Palico may make it hard to predict, and also interfere with certain strategies such as smoke bombs and cone baiting. On the other hand, your Palico and its gadgets may be the slight boost you need to emerge victorious. If you decide to bring your Palico, I recommend either giving it the Vigor Wasp orchestra, or Molotov gadgets. Armor for your Palico doesn't really matter at all, so you can just give them whatever you think looks nice. For their weapon, I recommend the butterfly wand for the paralysis effect. For items, you should stock up on max potions, great sushi fish scales, wet fish fin pluses, smoke bombs, mite seeds, farcaster, mega demon drug, your charms and talons, and materials to make more max potions and more smoke bombs. Every second counts against Fatalis, so it's very important to take these items as they are quick to use and highly effective. Now with all that preparation out of the way, you should be ready to fight Fatalis. But if you have any more questions, you should check out the Monster Hunter Hub Discord, as the people there are very knowledgeable and they will definitely be able to help you. I'll leave a link to the Discord in the description below. My first tip for Phase 1 will be to tell you not to use the cannons. I see people telling beginners all the time that it's an easy way to clear Phase 1, and while it's easy, that doesn't mean it's good. I'll do a split screen comparison between opening with cannons and opening with just fighting Fatalis normally. On the left will be cannons, and on the right will be the normal opener. On the right you can see we drop a smoke bomb during Fatalis' first attack, which causes him to look for us. We can use that opportunity to tenderize him. Be aware that Fatalis has two distinct stances, his two-legged upright stance and his four-legged stance. The moves he has changes depending what stance he is in, so be observant. Fatalis also takes the most damage on his chest and head, so stay close and in front of him to make the most out of your attacks. Pay attention to the sounds that Fatalis makes, as well as the body movements, as these are big cues as to what attacks he's going to do. Note that flinch-shotting Fatalis when he's on two legs will cause him to drop to all fours, and flinch-shotting him when he's on all fours will cause him to stumble forward, hopefully into a wall. That specific roar was a topple that happens when you do enough damage to Fatalis' chest, which causes him to fall into his four-legged stance. If you're quick, you can immediately clutch onto his head and flinch shot him into the wall like I did here. Get used to spotting this charged fireball early, as it has a huge hitbox and will one-shot you. In Phase 1 and 2, if Fatalis is enraged, he will do a flying dive afterwards, so be ready for that as well. Also, do not spam Dragon Pods to flinch Fatalis out of attacks. Many of Fatalis' most intimidating looking attacks are also huge counterattack opportunities for yourself. For example, this sweeping flame breath. However, don't overcommit on your attacks, as you can be punished easily by attacks such as Fatalis' downward breath that you see on the right. Coming up is the topple onto four legs. Listen for the roar. Do not confuse that one for the one where he simply falls onto four legs, as visually they look very similar. There was the flinch that where you do enough damage to the head, he returns back to the two-legged stance. And here I showcase you can dodge the downward flame breath by clutching onto him. The most important thing about Phase 1 is observing Fatalis' attacks and learning what counters you have against them. Be patient, don't overcommit, and get your hits in on the chest and head, and you should clear Phase 1 with no issues. Once you've done enough damage, Fatalis will fly off and you'll be told to run for cover. Do so, and that's the end of Phase 1. If you are doing the special assignment version of Fatalis' quest, clearing phase 1 will trigger a cutscene, after which you'll be able to do multiplayer for Fatalis. This transition phase really highlights our quick use items as we have a limited amount of time to get ready for the next phase of the fight. Once phase 2 begins, your cover will melt away and the rest of Castle Shrade will open up. You can quickly run north, grab the binder, drop a smoke bomb on the Ballista to force Fatalis to land and look for you and unload on him. Focus your shots on his chest as he takes the most damage there from Ballista. Be aware of his chest break flinch, as you won't get the Ballista topple if he's in the flinch animation, which is why I stopped shooting when I got the part break message and then resumed afterwards. Make sure you have 2 levels of heavy artillery in your build, or you may not have enough damage off of one roaming Ballista to get a clean artillery knockdown. You may wonder why we don't combine the cannon opener with the roaming Ballista to get the best of both worlds. And this table shows exactly why we don't. To get a topple in phase 1 and then another artillery topple in phase 2, you would need a lot more artillery damage than just one roaming Ballista. And as you saw from the cannon opening comparison, it takes way too long to load and fire all the cannons. It's much faster to simply kill Fatalis than fish for a second artillery topple. Fatalis does get one extra move in phase 2, a delayed explosion puddle, that looks something like this. Also, starting in phase 2, if enough time passes, Fatalis will enter flight mode. Like at the start of phase 2, you can use smoke bombs to force him to land and search for you. Also, try and keep Fatalis at the north side of the map so that you can quickly get to the gate when the phase transition begins. A little known tidbit is that you can hold down the interact button to hold the lever for the gate, and then release the button to close the gate. This is very useful if you're waiting for your teammates and you're waiting for the precise moment to close the gate. In phase 3, all of Fatalis' animations slightly speed up. Keep that in mind as you go for tight punish windows. He also begins this phase in flight mode, so you can use your first binder shot to bring him to the ground. If you haven't gotten at least one head break by this point, Fatalis will shoot blue flames that will all basically one-shot you. If you are a ranged hunter, good luck. He also gains some new moves and changes his behavior after some old moves, so stay on your toes. During phase 3, Fatalis' chest also softens and takes more damage. Coming up is Fatalis' grab attack. Learn to recognize it if you're solo, because if he hits you with it, you're dead. However, if you're in multiplayer, you can flinch Fatalis with dragon pods to save the victim. Here's one of Fatalis' new phase 3 moves. He only does it in his 2-legged stance, and it does a huge amount of damage to hunters on the sides of him. Once you get Fatalis down to 41% HP, he will do his first phase 3 Nova. These Novas are cone-shaped, so the fastest way out of them may not be directly towards Fatalis. His second Nova will occur when he is at 27% HP, and his third and final Nova will occur when he is at 6% HP. Once you get the second head break, Fatalis' fire breath will return to the same power it was in phase 1 and 2. You'll also get a guaranteed evil eye drop. Coming up is one of Fatalis' new moves in Phase 3, his 360 Fire Breath attack. This move will one-shot you and all of your friends too, so it's very important that you learn to recognize it early. Listen for the telltale sound cue, and pay close attention to Fatalis' very obvious head positioning. If you're in a bad spot like I was, your best choice is to simply sheath and dive out of the way. And here I miss an attack because I wasn't paying attention to his changed behaviors. Unlike in Phase 1 and 2, in Phase 3, Fatalis will do the dive after Charged Fireball, only if he is not enraged. Here again is the 360 Fire Breath attack, but this time I'm close enough to roll to the safe side, which is on the opposite side of his head, and clutch to his chest to a tenderizing opportunity. Note that Fatalis will only do the 360 Fire Breath attack when he is in his four-legged stance. Notice how Fatalis falls to all fours without crying out in pain here. The difference from the flinch version that I pointed out in Phase 1 is that he recovers much faster after this version. Keep in mind this is not unique to Phase 3, and he can do it in every phase. Also, now in Phase 3, when he is enraged, his Charged Fireball will turn into a chain triple Charged Fireball. Again, this attack looks very intimidating, but there's a huge blind spot directly underneath him that you can safely attack him from. Here, I use sword bombs to force Fatalis to land. And now, with the Dragonator ready, I try and bait him over to it. It's important to do this on the low ground, as if you stay on the high ground, he'll just spam fireballs at you. If he does his cone breath at you, you can survive by diving twice. It's hard to see it, but I did it here. The moment I see him slithering towards me, it's safe to climb up and pull the lever. And that's it. I hope this guide helped you. Good luck and have fun on your own attempts.